afternoon, everyone. My name is Gina Izzo, and I'm excited to be here at this year's Jean Harris Jazz Festival. But before we begin today, I want to tell you a little bit about my background. I am a flutist and recording artist with two projects. One is called Lady Bird, and that is an electronic music project where I stream my flute through analog guitar pedals. And the other is Righteous Girls alongside pianist Erica Doey, a contemporary duo that commissions works of new composers and co-composes original music. I am also the co-founder of Bespoken, a music mentorship program for women in classical, contemporary, and jazz, and alongside my co-founder, Eunbi Kim. And I am currently manager of learning and engagement programs at the Weil Institute at Carnegie Hall. So it's my pleasure to be with you here today. And today we are going to take a look at 21st century careers and what it means to create your unique path. The three key areas I want to explore today are branding, creative project development, and self-advocacy. These three central areas help creatives build incredible careers, supercharge their work, and make their ideas come to life. So let's start with branding. What is branding? You see brands everywhere, whether it be in logos, in fonts, in photos, or even in colors used in all of those. Branding is the process of giving a meaning to a specific organization, company, product, or service by creating and shaping a brand in consumers' minds. And in your case, we're really talking about audiences and presenters. So why does branding matter? Branding is the beginning of figuring out your unique voice, and it also sets you apart. So today I want to take a look at visual brands and how they connect to the artist's music. So I'm going to show you a few examples of my own. So let's take a look at this first photo. What does this photo convey? What do you think the ensemble sounds like? And what kind of music do you think you're going to hear just by looking at this image? So this image was taken at a time when Righteous Girls first started out, back in 2010. And at the time, we were playing mostly classical music. So in this photo, you see us wearing black dresses, which is standard concert dress. I carried my flute with me. And we have that sort of serious classical musician look on our faces. So it would be safe to assume that you know you're going to hear a flute player when you take a look at this photo, and you might place us in a space like a concert hall or a church where classical music is traditionally performed. So now let's take a look at the next photo. So this next photo was taken from Righteous Girls' album, Gathering Blue, and it is our album cover. At the time in which we were pursuing an album, it was around 2014, we were really thinking about our brand. We were thinking about our photos, our vibe, and even our name, Righteous Girls. So in this photo, you're going to see that we made very conscious choices for what we included or didn't include in the photo. You see us with blue glitter, which is representative of the title, Gathering Blue. And you don't see my instrument in this photo. And also, we're not outdoors. So you see the color blue, and we're even turned upside down. So you might assume that this is a bit more artsy of a photo, so perhaps you're not going to be hearing classical music, maybe something a bit more abstract. So let's take a look at another photo. So this is our most recent press photo. And you're also going to notice that we chose once again to not include our instruments in the photo. And I will say that that decision has a lot to do with the fact that now we're beginning to include a lot more to our music, a lot more additional elements to our music, such as electronics and keyboards. And so we're no longer just the duo who played acoustic flute and piano. And so we wanted to make sure that we convey that through this image. We also have a bit of a perhaps more hip vibe in this photo. And you can see that through the expressions on our faces, as opposed to someone who might be in a photo and smiling at the camera. Now let's take a look at some of the examples of my own. So this is my very first headshot. And you'll see me here, serious, in a red dress with my flute and looking down at my flute. So once again, you might think this is a more classical and classic looking photo, that you might be going to a concert hall and seeing someone on stage in a red dress performing flute. Now let's take a look at the next photo. So this next photo is one I use for my brand as a flute player in the industry. So you'll see me here in a white outfit, no instrument, and a bit of a edgier look on my face and expression. So once again, I omitted the instrument from the picture, and I also chose very consciously to do an indoor shoot as opposed to outdoors. So for example, if you're to take a picture in the middle of a forest or in an open field, it would be impossible for someone looking at the photo to not think about the trees that might be surrounding you and or the environment in which you're in. And maybe in looking at that, people might think something more peaceful. Maybe there's a nature theme to your programming. And so now let's take a look at my last photo example. So this last photo is from my electronic music project, Ladybird. So in this photo, you're going to see, a bit of a darker look. Again, I have black glitter on and on my face. It almost looks like I'm crying. And it has a sort of electronic-y vibe with the lighting. And so I think both Righteous Girls photos and these photos, what they do show as well, in addition to brand, is the evolution of your brand. So that being said, over the course of many years, your brand will change, and as it should. And that is what keeps it connected to where you are and what your music sounds like here and now. So the next question we need to think about is, how do you develop a brand? So I'd like to start with an exercise. So first, I want you to list 5 words of how you would describe yourself and how you would describe your music. Then I want you to ask 5 friends, family members, or colleagues to also list 5 words that describe your personality and describe your music. And you might be interested in learning what others say. So what are those 5 words that people use to describe your music? And what are the 5 words that you use to describe your music? Where do they align? Do they align? Where is the overlap? Now take those words and identify what direction you want for yourself. Someone may have described you and your music as beautiful and sweet. And you might say that you want to be identified as strong and bold. And that's okay too. Branding is always a conscious decision in guiding what you want to convey. So now, after choosing those descriptive words, we need to think about how do those words tie in to our visual brand? What are the colors that you see? What's the style of clothing? So in thinking about that, you can begin to think about, maybe you want a very bright photo, bright and colorful. Maybe you want a photo that's in black and white. You can think about, what style of clothing do you want to wear to convey that image? Do you want to do an indoor or an outdoor photo shoot? And how does the environment in which the shoot that you do is in impact how people hear your music? Do you want your instrument in your photo, or do you want it to be more ambiguous, and why? So once you think about those things and how they connect to your brand and what you want to convey, you need to identify a photographer. So the photographer plays an important role and contributes their artistry to your brand. I encourage everyone to take the time to research lots of photographers and choose one that you feel can best support the direction of your brand through their artistic lens. I will remind you that in choosing a photographer, what you see is what you get. And by that, I mean, if you go to a photographer's website or Instagram, for example, and you take a look at all their photos, and you only find one, maybe two that you like, I would say it's safe to assume that that's not the right photographer for you. You want to be able to see a photographer and go through and say, that's exactly what I want on nearly every photo. Ideally, they will have their own artistry and brand for themselves, and you want to align that with yours to help amplify it. So you want to make certain that you move forward with a photographer whose work you like across the board. Now, where do you use branding, and why is it necessary to think about? You use branding everywhere. You use it in social media outlets, on websites, in marketing your events and shows at clubs and festivals, and on creative projects such as albums or album covers. Often, the first entry point to your music, to your website, or for someone to even want to click on your video and watch it or to attend a concert is a photo. Photos are instant. In that photo, your brand is what piques interest for your audience and bookers to want to learn more and to want to listen and to want to buy the ticket and to want to buy the album. So to recap, your brand is a set of perceptions people have about you. It is and should be a carefully curated emotional expression and extension of your value that lives in people's hearts and minds. Branding is a set of actions you take to cultivate your brand. And when done right, branding becomes a beautiful design, language, and experience, all combining to cultivate a very specific feeling. So, what do you do with a brand? I want to talk to you next about creative project development. Often figuring out the puzzle of how to achieve your dreams and create a sustainable life in music can be a fun, engaging, and often daunting challenge. So often you have to ask yourself how to make something out of nothing. You may already have a project idea in mind, or you may be in the process of exploring new ideas. So I want you to ask yourselves, if you could create anything, regardless of money, what would you create? Now, I want you to try something. I want you to grab a piece of paper and a pencil right now and write down the following 3 categories: interests, talents, and skills. Interests are, what do you love? What do you love thinking about? And what causes you to lose track of time? Talents are seemingly complicated tasks that you perform with an appearance of ease. And skills are activities that you can do that create value for others and what you can do to generate income. So I want you to write down your responses, and I want you to see how they could potentially come together. I'll use an example of my own. In 2018, alongside my co-founder Eunbi Kim, I founded Bespoken, a music mentorship program that emerged from a shared belief that mentorship alongside professional development support of an individual's career will help advance artists in the classical, contemporary, and jazz industry for the long term. Mentorship played a pivotal role in our careers, and Bespoken provides women with the support that we found so valuable in our own paths. So through professional one-on-one mentoring and group workshops, the program equips fellows with skill-building tools and support to develop successful ideas, goals, and projects towards creating rewarding careers in music. We focus on areas such as website biography, oversight, marketing and branding, creative project development, such as releasing an album, performance and workshop opportunities, fundraising, commissioning projects, job applications, and interview preparation, while providing support for achieving desired goals, building connections, and finding resources. One central area we explore with our fellows is what makes them and their music unique. Often we find that one of the most significant barriers for artists is overcoming insecurities for promoting their art. Part of what we're working on with them is developing a clear understanding of what makes them unique and why their voice is essential, necessary, and valuable. So through our program, Bespoken identifies these barriers for advancement and develops a plan for personal and professional growth. So, for example, this project, Bespoken, it started out with a small idea. Back in 2016, I was the manager of the Chamber Music America National Conference, which was a 4-day event held in New York City that brought together industry professionals across classical, contemporary, and jazz to come together for 4 days to attend performances, to go to workshops, and to audit sessions. And at the time, I led an initiative through the conference called Next Gen, and that was an initiative for musicians 25 and under focused on careers. So the idea of Bespoken came to me when a young jazz musician approached me after the conference, and she said that she wished that this Next Gen conference programming existed all year because she often felt very lost in knowing the next steps for herself and how to advance her career, and she didn't know where to turn to. So also at the time, I was already helping my friends build their websites, craft their bios, and exchange ideas for where to get booked. So I was essentially already mentoring, just in a less formalized way. So at the time I thought, well, why can't a program like this exist all year? So back in 2017, I approached Unvi with the idea of beginning to look at what a year-round mentorship program could look like. Our program began with only 2 fellows. And now in our 5th season, we have supported over 50 plus fellows through our program and continue to expand our programs, programming, and partnerships each season. So again, it goes back to those 3 key areas of talents and skills and how they overlap with each other. So I think for me, that meant bringing together my musical experience as a flutist alongside the things that I was already doing, such as giving advice and helping support friends through these sort of skill building activities. And also connecting that to my work in music programming, having been the manager at the Chamber Music America National Conference and now currently at Carnegie Hall. So what are the first steps in realizing your idea? I think the first step is looking at those 3 key areas and writing down your responses to them. I think the next is in researching 3 existing models. Does your idea already exist? Would it fill a void? And what is the demand for it? So when I was looking at Bespoken, and that conference attendee had approached me, she was basically telling me there's a demand for this because she would want to participate in a program like that. So I think really exploring what is the demand and what is the need and who are you serving through your project is all useful. And then I think the last thing that you can do is brainstorm 3 advisors that can help you get your project off the ground. And those advisors should be people that you turn to for questions that might be able to connect you to other people who might help support your project idea and to be a resource for you. And I think we all have people that can sit down with us and help talk through some of the questions that we have. So I think having the confidence to turn an idea into something larger might be the greatest challenge of all in project development. How do you combat imposter syndrome, and what do you do when you get stuck? I like to say that the first step is in knowing that you all have your own unique audiences, your family and your friends who want to support you. I'll use an example I have with a former fellow in Bespoken. This particular fellow was not on social media and felt that they didn't want to come across as self-promoting. This same fellow told me that since she was starting off, that she didn't think that people would be interested in her at the time, that there are a ton of other musicians out there, and why would people be interested in hearing from her? So I said that the only way people will know about her and her art is if it is shared more broadly, and that people share all kinds of things online. If someone is comfortable sharing what they ate for dinner, then I think that sharing your performances or clips of your music or updates on shows and upcoming events is an incredible way to bring others into your unique space. So that same fellow decided that she was going to post a video of a recent performance. This was going to be the first time that this specific fellow posted a video of herself playing. So within 1 hour of posting, she had over 500 likes and hundreds of comments on Facebook of people saying that she needs to share more often, that they were really excited to hear her, and that they were just very enthusiastic about wanting to hear more and wanting to come hear her play. So that same fellow now has a website, is very active on social media, and is now headlining at some of the biggest jazz venues. So whether it be a creative project, such as starting an organization, developing an album, creating your own music festival, you can take the initial steps in realizing your brand and your unique voice, in developing projects, and in advocating for yourself. And it is truly essential for you in today's music industry. These factors of your career contribute to you getting booked at institutions, at festivals, at venues, and at leading tours all over the world. So I like to think of projects and careers today like a giant puzzle. I want to encourage all of you to brainstorm with these ideas and take the initial steps to begin to put together the larger puzzle of your career piece by piece. So with that being said, I want to say a big thank you to the Gene Harris Jazz Festival for having me here today, and for all of you for tuning in. So please feel free to contact me with any questions you may have, and enjoy the rest of the festival.